Good evening. Chaf He Amud Aleph, 13 lines down. Last word in the line is Hatam. So we're discussing the concept of dayo. If you make a kalva homer, and you're comparing one thing to the next, does the entire halacha get compared? Besides for the basic halachot that are the same, can you apply the halacha from A to B? Or can you even do more? So until now we were saying this concept of dayo, which means that dayo means enough or just that. So if A has it, then B has it, then you can't add to B. Meaning you can't say B has more halachot than A if you're learning B from A. You can only learn out B from what you learned from A. Okay, so now we brought in the concept of the Shekhinah with Miriam, Hanaviyah, and we mentioned, now we're going to explain why it isn't or is dayo. Hatam Shiv'ad Shekhinah Loktivi. Over there, it doesn't say that she only has to have 7 days for the Shekhinah. Therefore, the first Kava Chomer comes and tells us that maybe for the Shekhinah, she should have to do 14, right? She should have to do 14 days because double than what she would have done for her own father had it happened. Therefore, we need a dayo there to teach you that you only do 7. And sure enough, the end of the parasha over there says that she stayed behind 7 days. But over here in our Mishnah, over here it says Hatzi Nezek, right? It says Hatzi Nezek by Keren with the Torah without saying anything else. Therefore, you want to bring Kal Vachomer and tell me that Hatzi Nezek, a different Hatzi Nezek, makes it full damages. Therefore, if you apply Dayo, which would bring the original Hatzi Nezek from the first case to the second case that we're discussing now, which would still be Hatzi Nezek, and therefore there's no more Kal Vachomer. The Gemara says, "V'Rabbanan shiv'ad d'shchina k'tivi." What do Chachamim hold? They say no. It does say that she was held for 7 days. Therefore, there was no problem with that proof from Miriam. Tisager shivat yamin, because at the end of the parasha it says 7 days, right? So we said that originally we said that it doesn't say 7 days. Chachamim say it does say 7 days at the end of the parasha. So now, what does Rabbi Tefon say to that? Rabbi Tefon hahu tisager d'shinin dayahu. And he says that no, over there by where it says that she should quarantine for 7 days, it's teaching you the concept of dayo, right? That is the proof that we do dayo. Rabbanan they say that another pasuk says she's quarantined for 7 days. So we're still seeing, according to Chachamim, beautifully that you can't prove that it would have been more. Rabbi Tefon answers him, Rabbi Tefon, he teaches you that in general, by Kal Vachomer, this is teaching you for other cases. In general, by Kal Vachomer, there's also dayo. And don't say that over here, the reason why she got 7 days was just to teach you that the Hashivut of Moshe Rabbeinu, that she got punished for speaking against him. Maybe in general, there should be no concept of dayo. Therefore, it is true in the Kal Vachomer is applicable elsewhere. Okay, now we're going to get into some Tum'ah and Tahara, everybody's favorite topic. Amar le Rav Papa Abaye, Rav Papa said to Abaye, V'hatana tana b'lo darish dayo, afagav delo mifri kal v'chomer. According to the opinion who holds that there's no such thing as dayo, and even when the kal v'chomer is not applicable, meaning it's not knocked out, right? Even though we don't know who this is, we just prove that we don't know who it is. But according to this opinion that holds of this, Titania, the Braita, Keren bezav minayin. Sorry, Keri bezav minayin. How do we know that if a zav, right, the guy who has the discharge, his zera, his keri, is tameh through masa matan? Masa, the concept, right? Touching and carrying. Meaning, how do I know that if it's on top of something I'm carrying, I'm tameh, or if I touch it, I'm tameh? Medinu, we say, perfect kal v'chomer. Ma tahor betahor tameh betameh, tameh betahor, and adin sheyeh tameh betameh. Read that 5 times fast. What does that mean? That means, what if in a case where you have a tahor person, a tahor item coming from a tahor person, for example, it's spitting. A tahor person that spits something is the item is tahor. The spit is tahor. Comparable to a tameh person who spits, that spit is tameh. Therefore, you would say that something that is tameh by a tahor person right? A tahor person who has zera, the zera is tameh. So for sure, when it's zera from a tameh person, it definitely should be tameh, right? So yeah, we're bringing three categories. I don't know why they made it so complicated. Tahor person who spits, both are tahor, the spit and the tahor guy. Tameh guy who spits, the spit is the tameh guy who spits, the thing is still tahor. However, if a zera of a tahor person's tameh, then for sure the zera of a tameh person's tameh. So what do we say? The kamaiti la ben magal b'masa, and this braita, this Tana holds that the difference by the tuma of a zav is tameh through touching and carrying, even though you have a kal chomer. Ve'amai, maybe one second, hold a second. Maybe it should work through kal chomer. Name of ahani kal chomer the magam. Maybe the kal chomer only works that the zav's zera is tameh only through touching. Ahani dayola afuki masa. Right, that the concept of dayo where you're comparing and bringing down the halacha of tahor to tameh, the zera of a tameh person, right? That would only to teach that the carrying it will be tameh, right? Just like a tameh person who you carry something that's tameh, you're tameh. So to by zera, you're tameh. However, the kal v'chomer will teach you that even touching it. So maybe the kal v'chomer does work without caring about dayo. Mar says v'chitema, and if you want to answer me, it doesn't make sense. Because you need to teach me that touching is tameh. If I could carry it and I'm tameh, then if I touch the item itself, for sure I'm tameh. Because no worse than someone who's tahor who touches something that's tameh. Don't answer me that. Why? You still need to teach me that. Maybe because the pasuk says that the tuma of zera comes through a release of nighttime. Maybe misha kiryom goremlo. Maybe it only applies through a regular discharge of zera, right? Through intercourse, for example. Maybe, but over here the zav, it's not happening through natural means. This zera is coming out because he's a zav. The other discharge is bringing out zera also, right? So whatever a zav is, they say that it might be like a greenish, slimy-ish thing coming out of the person, and let's say zera comes out with it. So now it's an unnatural discharge, not through a regular discharge. Therefore, you have to teach me. The kal v'chomer can teach you that the zav's zera does make you tameh through touching, because you might think that it's not regular zera because it didn't come out through a regular case of zera. It came out through the zav. One second. The pasuk never says that it depends on how the zera came out. Zera is tameh. I don't care how it came out. It came out through zav, came out through this, came out through that. Make a difference. Why are you differentiating it how it happened? Where it says, and who's the Tana who holds that carrying something that's tameh, like of a zav, will be tameh also? Lo Rabbi Eliezer, lo Rabbi Yeshua. It's not Rabbi Eliezer, not Rabbi Yeshua. The Tana Mishnah says, "Shechvat zera shezav mitameh b'maga b'emet tameh b'asav." The zera of a zav is tameh through touching, but not if you carry it. David Rabbi Eliezer. Yeshua mer af mitameh b'asav, even through carrying. Because it's impossible. The zera won't have zav in it, the zav juice, right? So therefore, the Tana that holds that the zera of the zav is also tameh through carrying is not Rabbi Eliezer, because he holds it's not you're not tameh for carrying. He's the first opinion, and the second opinion of Rabbi Yeshua, the only reason why he holds that the zera of a zav is tameh is because there is zav stuff in it. Halav hachilo, but if somehow there was no zav stuff in it, it would not be tameh. Even though he's a zav person. All right, so let's say somehow we had a CAT scan on the guy. He has no more zav juice in him, and then he has zera. Technically, into Rabbi Yeshua, he would be tahor. The zera will be tahor, even though he's tameh zav. When I said Elahai Tana, rather say the Tana is according to this following brayta. The Tana, Mishnah says over there, Lema'ala mehen. Above the following things are tameh. The above list. Zovo shel zav. The zav was the zav stuff, juice of a zav. V'roko his spit, shechazera, his zera, umemera glav in his urine. V'dam hanida and the nida of the blood of hanida. Mitamin ben magav masa. All these tana items are touching and carrying tameh. Right? This tana is the one that holds that zera of a zav is tameh through touching and carrying. Maybe he holds it's not the actual zera is not tameh, but rather he's choshesh like Rabbi Yeshua that the zav juice is mixed in it. Gemara says, if that's the case, that it's because of his zav juice, then it would have mentioned it alongside with the zav zera, right? It would say zav zera and the zav zera because of the zav. Why would it say zera by spit? Because it's learned out from spit. Just like spit doesn't have zav juice, so to the zera doesn't have zav juice, would also become tameh, even if there's no zav juice inside. And here we found the correct Tana who holds that the zera of a zav, even without zav fluid mixed in, would be tameh through carrying or touching. Okay, back to dayo. Amar le Rav Acha medifti l'Ravina b'hayt v'ha tai tanad lo darish dayo. According to the Tana, who does not hold of dayo, even if there's no problem with the kavachomer. Tanya, ma'patz b'meh minayin. How do we know that a mat, reed mat that's able to get tuma, right? How do we know that it becomes tameh through a dead person body? V'dinu, if a kavachomer. If you have earthenware jars that are tahor by a zav, yet become tameh through a met person, so then for sure, a case of a earthenware jug that does become tameh, of a reed mat that does become through a zav standing on it, so for sure it should become tameh also by met, because met, tumat met is the top tum'ah. Gemara says, the Tana learns from there that it's also able to come tameh through the corpse, whether it's that day or even up to 7 days, right? That means that the person, if the person's a zav, either the first day or the 7 days he has to wait. He has a 7-day window of being clean in order to become tahor again. Right, so that guy becomes tameh no matter what. The mat becomes tameh no matter what, whether it's day 1 or day 8 or 7. Right, so we see over there there's no dayo because he did a kava chomer from zav, and on top of it he said, "Oh, for short tumat met." That's not until now. If you have dayo, that the wet wouldn't work because you can only apply what the previous halakha is. You can't add halachot. What does it say? Amale kvar raman ne'alel Rav Nechume bar Zechariah l'Abaye. Ravina told Rav Acha that Rav Nechume bar Zechariah already asked this question to Abaye. All right, you're late to the party. Sorry, I skipped the line. Why should be able to make the kavachomer? Maybe the kavachomer helps teaching you that the mat becomes tameh until the nighttime. And the dayo would only stop it becoming tameh for 7 days. Right? That's an extra stringency that you can add. Right? So meaning there's no dayo where there's the dayo does help. Yani there is dayo restricting the halachot. Where it says this was already asked by a different rabbi. But Rabbi said that the Tana of this Braita learns it from the halachot of a sheretz. Right? Sheretz we've mentioned before. I think we're going to bring down the list again. It's a certain type of animals or insects that make things tameh. If it's that, he says the following. How do we know that a reed mat becomes tameh through a sheretz from a kavachomer? Just like small earthenware jars that are tahor in a case of a zav are tameh through sheretz. A mat that becomes tameh by a zav should sure become tameh by sheretz. And the Gemara says, how do we know that a mat becomes tameh through tumat met? From Exeter Shava, not a kavachomer. It says the same words by both cases. Just like by leather and garments, by a sheretz it becomes tameh by a mat. Which is like the same words used over there, also by a human body can make the mat tameh. Gemara says mufne. It must be that the word beged and or is mufne, right? So what does it mean when you have Gzeir Shava? That means it's an extra or a seemingly learnable word, right? There's no extra word in the Torah. So therefore, when you have a word that seemingly is excessive, it's able to learn out something else, right? Otherwise, why is it there? The Torah is teaching you, obviously must be teaching you A, B, C, D. So it's called a mufne word, open for business, open for drasha. So therefore, therefore, that's how you're able to learn Gzeir Shava. Because if it wasn't a free word, then you would be able to knock out the Gzeir Shava. How? Because there is a difference in the halachot. By a sheretz, it can even make something tameh in a size of a lentil, which is very small. However, tumat met can't make something tameh unless it's the size of an olive, not a lentil, right? It's a little bigger. So if someone finds a small piece of a human bone, tiny piece, not tameh met, has to be bigger. However, sheretz can be smaller. So we see there is a difference in halachot. Gemara says, lava fnui mufne, it is considered open, and that's how you can make the Gzeir Shava. Michti b'sheretz itkash l'shavdera. We have a Gzeir Shava comparison between sheretz to zera. The O ish asher tetzeh, or from a man that the zera shall come out from. The Samichlain additionally it says, O ish asher yiga b'chol sheretz, or a man that shall touch a sheretz. Uchti b'shechvat zera, by also by shechvat zera it says, v'chol beged v'chol or asher yiyeh alav shechvat zara. Beged ve'or the b'sheretz lamali. Why do I need to write beged and or again by sheretz? It must be telling you that it's open for business and free words to make the Gzeir Shava learning. Okay, the Gemara says but still, that in case if that's true, it's only available to be learned on one side. What does that mean? In order to make a Gzeir Shava from one halakha to the next halakha, they both have to be open, right? This has to be open and this has to be open. But we just said that the sheretz side is open, but the side of the human body, beged and or, was already used for something else, or we seemingly says that. That makes sense according to the opinion that you can make Gzeir Shava with two sets of words by two separate locations, even if only one of them is only one of them is open. However, according to the opinion that holds that you need both to be open, how does that work over here? It says, the word, the beged and or, those words by the human body also is free. Because why? Because a met is compared to a zera. How? Anybody touches a dead body, or zera, Uchti ben also says, B'shifat zera, V'chol beged v'chol, Asher yireh alav shifat zera. Beged ve'or the tavach manal bit namali. Why do we need a beged or again? Right, so he says I already have a comparison and an equation from before to teach me that they're equal. Therefore, the beged and or is open. So now that we said that it's a beautiful open kavachomer, that makes sense according to the opinion that you can say that you can learn from the previous one and apply it to the new one. According to one who holds that you can learn from it and you can continue to learn from it, right? Meaning, according to the opinion that holds that you could learn through Gzeir Shava that the tumat met can give tumat to a mat, but that tumat should also be a one-day tumat, just like anything else it would be. Why is it such a powerful tumat? Right? Meaning, the halakha that it becomes tameh shouldn't be more powerful than where it's coming from. So if you're telling me that it's coming from the tumah of the met that will make it tumah for one day, why would the mat become tameh for more than one day? Pasuk says you shall wash your clothing on the seventh day and become tahor. What does that teach you? anytime you become tameh with rumet, 7 days minimum. So the hidush is that even though technically it would have 1 day left, once it becomes tameh mat again, for example, the mat, you get another 7-day wait. Okay. Now that in our Mishnah, we knocked out the halacha with the kal v'chomer. We should ask a question. Right, back to normal halachot. Shen regel in public property should be chayav from a kal v'chomer, right? We said that patur. If keren, which is a tam, which is half damages in the damagee's property, you pay hati nezek, and yet in Bershut Rabim you're paying full damages, right? Then Shen Rega, which pays full in private property, Enodin Shebshut Rabim chayav. So in Bershut Rabim should be full, right? Meaning, so in half damages in private property pays full damages in public property, then Shen Rega that pays full damage in private property for sure be full damages also in public property. Why would be patur? Or it says Amar Kra ubi'ir b'sde'acher v'lo b'Bershut Rabim. Simple. I have a pasuk. Pasuk specifically says you have to damage someone else's property with Shen V'regel, and over here it's Bershut Rabim. Therefore, you're patur. Midi kule kamrinan. Does that mean that you? Does that mean you're completely patur in Bershut Rabim? Maybe you should pay chati nezek. Maybe we say you pay chati nezek, right? Beautiful. You're chayav only in private property, but why would you patur in public property? Maybe you should be chati nezek at least, just like a tam. Amar Kra v'hatzu et kaspo. The pasuk says that in regarding to chatzi nezek, you shall divide the money. What does that mean? Kaspo shel zeh v'lo kaspo shel acher. Only the case of keren, you divide the money, you pay chatzi nezek, and not any other case of shen v'regel. So the pasuk specifically says that keren is the only time you pay half, and not shen v'regel. So the only time you're chayav in shen v'regel is private property, and public property completely patur. Amen.